you're using the Facebook free mode, we don't want you left out, so you can also follow the conversation. We put up the topic, we've put up the question that would like for you to react to as we go through the show this morning. Don't forget Facebook and YouTube, XL106.9 FM. Like our page when you find us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get a notification every time we go live on the show and every other segment of the breakfast show. All right. Well, this morning, the promise is we're going to have a very interesting conversation. By the way, my name is Yugee HighPrayz, in case you're wondering.
My name is HighPrayz
Charles. Good morning to you once again.
Okay. Well, quickly, the PDP Governors Forum had some very sharp words for President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC. I'm sure that if you follow the news, then you know where I'm headed already. So the opposition governors met in Bauchi State, and in the end, they issued a communique which was read by their chairman, Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State. That's the governor of Sokoto State. They said a lot of things, in that meeting, and that communique captured some of them. We're not going to focus on the entire communique. We will just focus on, the part that we're interested in this morning. All right. So let me run you through some of the things that they said. I mean, you've already had some of them on our news bulletins from yesterday. All right. But let me help you out here in case you missed out on that. So first of all, they talked about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. While talking about that, they condemned the provision in the bill that would ban indirect primaries. Yeah, they had a problem with that one that bans indirect primaries. They talked about that very, very seriously. Very, very seriously. So if that document is accented to, I'm talking about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, if it's accented to, if the president puts his signature on that document, it would mean that moving forward, or going forward as the case may be, every party primary in Nigeria would have to be direct primaries. It means that political parties must use the direct primary method and no more, primaries based on delegates. No more. Every party member would have the right to vote for who becomes the party candidate. That's what direct primary means. As against, where delegates from wards, members of the state executive council that belong to the party, House of Assembly members, local government chairmen that belong to the party, leaders of the party become the delegates that go to decide who. Now, the PDP governors say that direct primaries are easy to rig, and that's why they're against it. They say it's very easy to rig direct primaries. Very, very easy. Very, very easy, according to them. The reason they're saying that is they believe that you can inflate the figures. So they gave the example of, the 2018 APC primaries, the presidential primaries, where President Muhammadu Buhari got 15 million votes. 15 million. And the PDP believes that was an example of rigging. Because if you look at the general election, according to what Tambuwal said, and I'm going to play you a little clip from that one. They say if you look at the general election, which is open to voters from across the country, where the president got 15 million votes again. So, how at the primaries he got 15 million votes to emerge as the candidate of the party, and then went on to the general elections and also got 15 million votes. That was their concern. Just take a little listen to what Aminu Tambuwal had to say, and then we'll continue from there.
The meeting condemned the attempt to force on all political parties one method of conducting primaries, that is by direct method only, through the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The governor stated that the method is prone to massive rigging, as evidenced by a situation where President Buhari scored 15 million votes in the 2018 direct primaries, only to score 15 million votes for the entire country in the 2019 general election. The governor advised that political parties should be allowed to decide whether to use direct or indirect methods of conducting primaries as part of internal democracy in political parties.
Well, you heard Aminu Tambuwal there, governor of Sokoto State. Was formerly in the National Assembly, actually ran for presidency in the last presidential election. So the PDP, says that this proves that 15 million votes with APC members only must have been fraudulent. So they say APC is promoting direct primaries for all parties because it will enable rigging. That's what they're saying. But those who support direct primaries say it's actually the best. They say it's the best way to ensure that regular people like Praise and Charles, because I'm not regular. That's on a lighter note. I mean, they say it would ensure that regular people would decide who the flag bearer of any political party becomes. Also, they point out that if the PDP is worried about rigging and inflated figures in their primaries, they can adopt technology. I mean, technology like electronic voting or electronic transmission of results, for instance. You remember that PDP lawmakers were the ones supporting electronic transmission of results.
Isn't that
for
the
general
issue of
elections.
imposition we just discussed some minutes ago?
Well, concerns about that, right? We'll look at all of that this morning. But yeah, I mean, go down memory lane. Some weeks ago, opposition lawmakers staged a walkout in the House of Representatives. In the Senate, they also raised concerns about the issues around electronic transmission of results, and the National Assembly saying that the Independent National Electoral Commission must clear with NCC. NCC must certify that the network is safe and it goes round. Right? And then the National Assembly must also say, okay, it's all right to transmit election results electronically. So those people that are in support of direct primaries are saying, why are you shouting? Just use electronic transmission of results. People can vote from anywhere, and then the result is sent to a central server. And, you're sure that nobody interferes with the process. That's what some persons are saying. Like, just adopt electronic transmission of results, since it's something that you're pushing for. Adopt it for your primaries. Mona use and do on our own primary. At least show the people that it can work. That's what they're saying. But there's also, the ideological question about how much autonomy political parties should have when it comes to their processes for picking candidates. And that's where this conversation is going to center on this morning. We've also put up that question on our socials today. Do you think that compelling political parties to use the direct primary method, do you think that compelling them takes away the autonomy of political parties when it comes to the process by which they pick their candidates? You can begin to respond to that. Now, moving on, the PDP governors also talked about defections. And they talked about the president turning the presidential villa, that's Aso Rock, to the APC headquarters. Now, specifically, they said that the president was parading defecting governors in Aso Rock. The PDP governors seem to be suggesting that Aso Rock should not be used for such blatantly political events. They also said those defecting governors were arm-twisted and extorted into joining the APC. Twisted and extorted into joining the APC. Now, the APC has also said that this is a lie. They've come out to react to that. They say it's a lie. Instead, the APC said these politicians are leaving the PDP because the party is dying, and that they're joining the APC because of the leadership and vision of President Muhammadu Buhari. So, would like to know this morning, who do you agree with? What do you think about the compelling part of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill that says political parties would hold direct primaries? Does it take away their autonomy in the way they want to choose which candidates emerges for them? What do you also think about the PDP saying that the APC is arm-twisting its leaders to defect? Well, what about the PDP's pushback against direct primaries? I've talked about that already. What do you think about the concerns of the PDP also when they say that the president is parading defectors in Aso Rock? Would like to have all of these conversations now up until 10 o'clock right here on The Talk this morning. You already know there are numerous ways to join us, right?
Yes,
I told you about Facebook already. The phone lines will be open in just a bit. You can join us, call in, share your thoughts. Let's have your opinion on these issues this morning. WhatsApp is also there.
Yes.
You can link up via WhatsApp.
All right, the phone lines are available this morning, 0700 000 1069, and then there's 0902 225 5088. WhatsApp is also 0802 200 5155. Don't wait till the tail end of the show. Get talking and get communicating this morning.
All right. Well, joining us on The Talk today, we've got a grassroots politician, Obong Ekefre. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the XL Place.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And Chris Okon is like a member of the family. Always here from time to
It's
time.
just remaining an induction ceremony.
Right, right. No, what we will consider is creating a list and then we'll just find out what number you'd like to have on that
Okay.
list.
Good morning, Tuesday.
Good to
Good
see
morning,
you.
HighPrayz.
Good morning.
Charles. Good morning, Obong Ekefre. Good morning, Akwa Ibom. And good morning, Nigeria. It's good to be here.
Okay. Well, let's get straight to business this morning.
All right, let's get straight to business. I would like to start with Chris Okon. Now, you're a public affairs commentator. Now, talking about direct primary elections, some persons would argue that it's the best way to ensure that party members are actively involved in deciding who the party candidates are. Now, my question is, wouldn't this strengthen internal democracy within the party?
Okay, HighPrayz. Now, I'd like to start by saying that Nigeria is not about methods, systems, and guidelines. Nigeria is about the people, the gladiators, those who take part in that system. Even if you go to the US, even if you go to the seats, whatever, how holy the cities, and invoke the method, and you bring the method back to Nigeria, and the people have not changed their attitude toward institutions and their functions, it will not change anything, Yugee. That is the truth. But on the surface, looking at it aesthetically speaking, you will discover that the idea about direct primaries is not new. In fact, it's as old as democracy in Nigeria.
Okay.
It is just a process where every party member have an opportunity to contribute in the choice of the party's flag bearer, not a particular, calibrated set of people through delegates. Now, it's a fantastic idea. Understand? Because if it is implemented the way it is constructed and designed to function, the man in the village, the man in my village, in the party I belong, will definitely contribute as to who becomes the governor of the state, the chairman of council, the House of Assembly, the Senate, which is fantastic idea. Now, the alternate logic, which is the alternate idea, is where delegates, again, that are voted by the people, it starts from the same direct primaries, where the ward meets and decide who becomes their delegate. So, voluntarily, they transfer their power to a particular set of delegates, which is elected, and others that are statutory from the ward. They now progress to the chapter and transfer the same energy in terms of votes to the next set of delegates, who are the ones that will vote for the governor, and some will be able to vote for the Senate in some parties. Now, the truth, like I told you, Yugee, is that all this can be done, and it amounts to a fair process, because the man that voted first for the delegate is the election starts from everybody in the world.
Involved. Yeah. Okay.
So the philosophy is about transfer of power, and it must be voluntary. Now, what destroys the idea? The idea is that Nigerian politicians will always change it upside down. Whichever method you are going to use, if the politicians themselves do not subject themselves to the rule and the law, none of them will work. All of them could be hijacked. So no one method is better than the other. That's my theory. No one. So far as we continue to insist on twisting rules, on manipulating results, using power and money, using unnecessary influence, cajoling, and compelling people against their wish, none of the method can work. Because no matter how, if a man has so much power, he can whisk everybody to a stadium and compel you to do what he wants you to do, and you will not do anything. So my argument, Charles, Yugee, on this is that the method is not the problem, but it is the managers of the policy.
All right. Let me come to Kefre. Do you share this sentiment? Do you share the sentiments that no one method is better than the other, direct, primary, or indirect?
Well, I am very much in line with what he's saying, but you see, looking at politics and politicians, we're still in the process of trying to know where we are, which of course is talking about is already a very bad state in our politics.
Okay.
And going to where it should be is a long journey, and that has to be mindset, as rightly said. Now, democracy naturally is a people-oriented exercise where people have to be involved, have to be engaged, to actually get at who will lead them. Now, whether it is direct or indirect, there was a time in the United States that it was an indirect primaries that led to the emergence of their leaders. But eventually, some progressives, decided to change the status quo and decided, no, it shouldn't be so. That is barely being controlled by a cabal, so that they can enhance people participation in the process of leaders of the government of the emergence of leaders.
Okay.
Now, it is not a thing that was a blanket that all states in the United States will have to adopt it. It's selective, the choice that a political party, to exercise their own independence, will have to choose which way to go. So naturally, I agree that politicians naturally will have to find a way of manipulating the process to suit them. But somehow I know that a mass involvement of people has to have checkmating the high-handedness of the powerful politicians. Now, where are we going to? In summary, in my opinion, in as much as the National Assembly is trying to do their job of trying to put a country democracy on track, but I have a problem with saying, no, this is how it should be. Because at this point, it's convenience for either way, either of the political parties, either the big players, either way, whichever way they want to choose to go. So I am frankly of the opinion that the National Assembly should let the basic tenets of democracy, which is freedom of expression and choice, to take its course.
Do you, just before I allow Charles, do you think that somehow this takes away the autonomy of the political parties when it comes to deciding how, or do you think also that it takes away you mentioned will, for instance, and that one of the things that Nigerians have always talked about, conversations have constantly centered around internal democracy processes for political parties. If the National Assembly has to sit and decide how the parties carry out their internal democracy process, because if you force everybody to do direct primaries, that's what you're saying. Doesn't that automatically infringe on that will, that freedom?
Yeah, it does. It does. The National Assembly, like I watched when the Speaker of the House of Representatives actually moved the motion and was seconded by his deputy. That the political parties should adopt, as guided by the law, the Constitution, that it should be direct primaries and nothing more. That strips off the freedom, the autonomy that political parties have. But I agree with Chris that for whatever reason, it is not the choice, not the method that matters, it's the mindset of we politicians and the players in it.
Somehow, so many persons will argue with that, because if we go back and look at primaries and what it's looked like in Nigeria, maybe not from 1999, but from 2003, the primaries before 2003 elections, the primaries before 2007 elections, and it looked like with every primary, the stakes became higher. At some point, we started seeing in the last primaries, we heard, I think it was the first time I was hearing $ring, at a particular convention. So
the problem is that we have inconsistency in terms of pursuits, the National Assembly itself is inconsistent. How are they inconsistent? Inconsistent in the sense that here, at one point in time, you see them propose a formula to head us to a credible leadership recruitment process. At the other time, they are contradicting it.
What I'll call a legislature of convenience.
Yes. Okay, look at a typical example is the fact that they are saying that this particular proposal is to enable a credible process and mass participation in the choice of the candidate.
Okay.
But in the other way around, when the issue was about electronic transfer, they are giving a lot of vacuum, they are giving a lot of gap for manipulation.
But the concerns they raised about electronic transmission are they?
The concerns are empty.
There are areas in Nigeria
Yugee, there was a time there was no GSM. People were using Turaya in the villages. Yugee, I can assure you.
How many people in the village have money to buy Turaya?
No, but it's not about the village now. It's about government. It's about the deliberate process. Okay. Yugee, if government wants to produce network in my village, enough, they will do that.
Is it possible?
Is it
possible to achieve that between now?
It is possible.
And 2023.
Yugee, but depending on that as a gap, what it means is that you are not true. You are not a patriot. You are just doing things for your convenience. You go here and you are saying one thing. You go here and you are saying the other thing. If you are saying INEC may transfer electronically.
They stop INEC from transmitting. They're saying you have to liaise with NCC, find out if it's convenient.
That is the gap.
And
that's the caveat.
The National Assembly and explain why you need to do it.
That to me is one of the biggest dangers to Nigerian democracy. That to me is one of the biggest betrayals of the National Assembly against Nigerians. That to me is one of the biggest blunders that people can just sit down and they've mortgaged the promises of being there.